My friend, have you ever felt invisible? Ever walked into a room and wondered if anyone even noticed you were there? After 70, a quiet fear like that can start whispering, am I still part of the story, or have I faded into the background? I know that feeling. I remember days when even a stranger would give a friendly smile or a nod, but those days can feel farther away now. Sometimes my friend Dave jokes that at our age, even our shadows have gone to sleep. We laugh. But behind that laugh is a little truth that sometimes worries us, isn't there? But if that sounds familiar, know you are not alone. In the hustle of modern life, it's easy to feel unseen. Yet we are not vanishing. Not now, not ever. We're still here, alive, thinking, dreaming, with stories to share. The world might not always pause for us, but that doesn't make our stories any less colorful. We find comfort simply talking about these things. You might wonder at times, have I become irrelevant? It's okay to ask that. In fact, speaking out loud about it can be a relief. We older folks often chuckle and say, I must be getting soft in the head. But the fact we ask means we still care. So take a deep breath. You've carried the world on your shoulders for years. Now it's carrying you. Let's talk about some truths we've learned about life after 70 and remind ourselves of the strength we still carry. First, consider Tom, 74. He starts each day with a short walk to his favorite cafe for a strong cup of coffee. Tom wears an old leather jacket and nods to the regulars. Everyone knows him. He's got a smile and a kind word for the barista and the diner's morning crowd. On one particular Friday, he walks in with his usual confidence. The little bell jingles overhead as he steps inside. Tom greets a few familiar faces with a wave and heads to the counter to place his order. But something strange happens. The barista, who usually beams at him, looks right past Tom and smiles at a younger man right behind him. Hey, Mark, the usual? She calls out without hesitation. Tom stands there with his cup in hand, surprised. For a moment, he feels like a ghost. Eventually, the barista notices him and says, Oh, I didn't see you there, Tom. Sorry about that, and goes to pour his coffee. Tom doesn't make a fuss. He jokes to me later, I guess I'm just invisible this morning, and we laugh. Inside, though, Tom feels a little bruised. It was as if someone had flipped a switch and dimmed the room for a moment. It happens to many of us. At the grocery checkout, the cashier might say, have a nice day, and then immediately turn to the teenager behind us as if we were the chair we're holding. In restaurants, waiters often take the young person's order first, barely glancing our way. We smile and play it off. Maybe joke, guess I should wear a neon sign. But deep down the feeling is the same. Sometimes the world simply doesn't notice us. Tom's morning routine wasn't ruined. He finished his coffee and kept his head high, but something inside him felt different the rest of the day. It's a truth many of us know. Even when we're right there, the world can behave as if we're not. We older folks often laugh it off, telling ourselves, I'm too sensitive. Of course they see me. But maybe it's okay to admit that yes, sometimes we do feel a little invisible. It's a natural human reaction. The important thing to remember is this. We are not actually invisible. Tom has family who love him, friends who listen, and a life rich with memories. Next time will be a bit more playful. Maybe he'll drop a coin on the counter and say, heads or tails, I'm here. Humor helps, because behind the joke is a quiet reminder. We're still very much present, and we do deserve to be seen. Now, even at home among family, we can feel overlooked. Take Nancy, 78, who loves her family more than anything and bakes the best apple pie you've ever tasted. Last Sunday, she made that pie and called everyone in for dinner. The table's set, the scent of cinnamon apples fills the kitchen, and Nancy's heart is warm. The kids shuffle to their seats, and the little ones fidget in anticipation of dessert. Nancy smiles and begins a story, something she learned from her mother. When I was a girl during the war, eggs were rationed, but my grandma, she starts. But just then her grandson Sam interrupts. Grandma, can we check who's winning on our phones first? A few of the kids giggle, and Nancy feels a flutter of hurt. The conversation has already moved on without her story. She tries again. My grandma taught me this pie recipe on a snowy night. And Sam groans, Grandma, enough history. Can't we watch something fun instead? The table laughs lightly. Nancy's cheeks flush and her eyes fill. She pushes down a lump in her throat. It's as if her story and even her pie, symbols of love and family tradition, have turned invisible in that noisy moment. After dinner, Nancy quietly clears the table. Her husband sees her face. "Sweetie, you okay?" he asks gently. Nancy sighs. "I wonder if they even heard me at the table, or if I was just grandma with the pie tonight." He takes her hand and says, "They heard you, dear. We might not see it now, but they heard a piece of you." Nancy forces a smile, but still feels a bit hollow. It's a truth we've all felt. Sitting among loved ones and somehow feeling unheard or unimportant. We might laugh and say, kids will be kids, or we might just serve another slice of pie and pretend we're fine. But inside, the ache is real. The next morning, something small but magical happens. Nancy is making pancakes for breakfast when she hears it. Her granddaughter Emma humming that very lullaby Nancy sang last night while baking pie. Nancy pauses, recognizing the tune. A warm glow spreads through her. That sweet melody means parts of last night's story lived on in Emma's mind. Nancy realizes then, even if the world didn't pause to listen immediately, her words planted seeds. The story and the love in that pie will bloom in its own time. She smiles softly, thinking, maybe history is patient. And she decides, next time, she'll tell that story again, maybe a bit louder and with a little extra wink. Because our stories, like gardens, grow quietly and beautifully in time. Another reality we face is that people sometimes underestimate what we can still do. Let me tell you about Homer, 82, who built his first house at age 30 and raised 3 kids through tough times. He spent years teaching science, fixing cars, and helping neighbors solve problems. To Homer, age has added wisdom and patience, not helplessness. One afternoon at the community center, they needed help setting up chairs for a meeting. Homer, sturdy and upright, picked up a stack of chairs and carried them to the hall. But just as he reached the doorway, a younger volunteer gently took the chairs from his hands. "Oh, Homer, go ahead and sit. We'll take care of it," she said. Homer smiled politely. "No, really, I'm fine, thank you," he replied. Inside, however, he felt a flash of something, a faint sting. It was as if they thought he couldn't finish what he started. Tom the carpenter, Mr. Dependable himself, had been treated like a child. Another time at home, Homer's teenage neighbor tried to teach him a smartphone app. Homer, who actually learned to text this year, joked, "Don't treat me like a toddler, son." I watched the Apollo launch. I think I can figure out an app. He tapped on the screen and cracked a grin when the young man realized his mistake. They both laughed, and the neighbor apologized. But Homer couldn't help thinking, decades of experience were being treated like they could vanish in an instant. We've all had moments like this. Maybe a college kid explains the internet to us slowly, or a well-meaning nurse talks over us. It's usually kind, but it can feel frustrating, like we're fragile antiques instead of people who weathered real life. But think of all the storms we survived, wars, market crashes, raising families on a shoestring, big life changes. We're not fragile vases. We're well-worn leather boots, comfortable and strong. So what do we do when someone underestimates us? We do what Homer does. Respond with a smile, a bit of humor, and steady confidence. Maybe we'll say, "Yes, thank you, I'll have a seat. I'm saving my energy for the chess game later." And carry on, because underneath the gray hair and any slower steps, our hearts and minds are just as sharp as ever. Every time we do something, no matter how small, we prove it. Homer often reminds himself, "They may see a little white in my beard, but they don't know how deep my roots go." He might joke to his kids later, "I may have a few extra candles on my birthday cake, but I sure know how to build one." That humor helps, but more importantly, it reinforces something true. Our value doesn't fade with years. We help build the roads our grandkids drive on. We taught the science that led to their cell phones. And we cook the meals they still love. Even if the world sometimes forgets, we know it in our bones. Now, another truth. Sometimes even the people who love us treat us as if we're not really there. Take Homer again. He went for a routine checkup with his daughter. After a minute of small talk, the doctor turned to her and said, "We need to schedule Dad's knee surgery soon, and perhaps discuss some in-home care options." Homer, sitting next to them, heard every word but realized they were addressing each other, not him. He felt his heart sink. They were talking about Homer, as if he were in the next room. He cleared his throat and said, "Doctor, I appreciate the concern, but I'm fine for now. I walk my dog every morning, and I can still cook my own dinner." The room went quiet. The doctor blinked and turned to Homer. "Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to include you." He apologized. Homer smiled and joked. "That's okay. I guess I have a big mouth for an old man, don't I?" Everyone laughed, and the ice was broken. It surprised them all, but Homer felt proud. In that moment, he reminded everyone and himself that he still has a say in his life. Here's the truth. No matter what labels they use, you are still the captain of your ship. You've managed life decisions for decades. Your opinion still matters. So if someone ever forgets to ask, speak up gently. You might say with a wink, "Well, I'm still the president of my household. Thank you very much." It might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but each time we insist on having a voice, we reclaim a bit of ourselves. We earn the right to it. After all, we've paid the bills, chosen schools, even fought the wars of our youth. If others ever forget, just remember, we know who we are, and no matter our age, that truth doesn't fade away. Now let's talk about something very human. Loneliness. Consider Bill, 85. Bill and his wife Marie grew old side by side. Each morning for decades, they would walk hand in hand through their garden. 2 years ago, Marie passed away. Now Bill's house is quiet. He makes meals for one and sits by himself, sometimes writing in his journal. Mrs. Eddy says she dropped by today, but I guess I'm alone again. It's a hard, honest truth. After so many years of company, the silence can feel very loud. On some evenings, Bill takes his cup of tea onto the porch. One afternoon, as the sun was setting, a neighbor named Karen walked by with her little dog and called out, "Beautiful evening, Mr. Bill." That friendly wave warmed Bill's heart on an otherwise quiet day. He even joined a community choir to meet people. In practice, he found a kindred spirit, Alice, another widow. Sometimes they sing together. Other times they simply sit quietly side by side, understanding without words. Bill decided to fight the loneliness. He started calling old friends regularly, inviting them over for tea and stories. He also volunteers once a week at the library, reading children's books to the youngsters. The kids hug him and call him Mr. Bill, and just like that, his loneliness eases. Suddenly he realizes he's still very much needed and loved. Little things help too. He speaks to his cat, Mr. Whiskers, who listens patiently. He even tends to a small flower box on his porch. The birds come and chirp, as if saying hello. Each morning he reminds himself, just because one chapter closed, love didn't vanish. It took on a different form. One sunrise, Bill closed his eyes and felt Marie's warmth in the orange light of dawn. He whispered, "Thank you," and carried on. So if you ever feel a quiet ache, remember, you're alive, you are loved, and you still belong. Loneliness can knock on our door, but it doesn't have to stay for tea. There are still moments of connection, a kind word from a neighbor, a grandchild's call, the comfort of a pet purring in your lap, a beloved song on the radio, the rise of the sun through your window. These small lights remind us we are part of something bigger. Breathe in and remember, you're not alone. Finally, let's remember a beautiful truth, the wisdom and contributions we carry quietly through life. We have witnessed incredible things. Many of us remember when Armstrong walked on the moon or when the Beatles first played on TV. We lived through a black and white world becoming color. No internet becoming endless internet. All those experiences are tucked inside us. Take Eleanor, 80, for example. Her garden is bursting with flowers and vegetables. Younger members of the gardening club often talk about fancy apps to track plant growth. Eleanor just smiles. She'll say, "Back in the 60s, I grew corn with a hoe and a prayer. No apps needed." The club laughs. She adds with a twinkle, and maybe a bit of luck that none of those seeds walked off in rabbit paws. Behind the humor, her point is clear. Experience is a kind of wisdom that no gadget can replace. Or think about family history. We remember whose baby is in which photo album, how our grandparents met, all those old recipes and songs. A grandchild may roll her eyes when we tell the tale of walking miles to school, but the truth in our voice shapes them more than they know. Years later, that same granddaughter might hum a nursery rhyme we taught her, or bake our apple pie recipe and think of us fondly. In small ways, our legacy lives on, like seeds we planted in our family. Even if we rarely see ourselves in the media today, our influence is everywhere. Every hug we gave, every lesson we shared, every boat launch we launched, metaphorically speaking. These echoes live on. We are living libraries, pages of human history still turning in daily life. Someday, a child might say, I learned that from my grandmother, or a friend might admit, I think Grandpa's advice helped me today. In that moment, we will know the ripples reach far. That is our quiet triumph. So keep telling your stories, planting your gardens, sharing your wisdom. Someday someone will look back and say, that's just what Grandma taught me. Or he always said, and you'll smile, knowing all along your legacy grew in little ways. You see, my friend, being older doesn't mean we disappear. Growing old is like becoming an uncut gem. More facets of character showing, not fading. We built this world. We helped shape it. Even if not everyone sees us every day, we are still very much a part of it. If anything here resonates with you, remember this. You are not forgotten, not by me, not by those who truly know you. Your life and your memories have infinite value. Every gray hair on your head is a story. Every line on your face a chapter. You carried the world on your shoulders for years, and now the world carries you in its thoughts. You are still here, still important, and you still matter. You weathered storms and joys that younger folks have only read about. Thank you for listening, my friend. You are cherished, you are seen, and you are deeply loved. Keep smiling, keep sharing your light, and always remember, you are still a central character in this beautiful story of life. Breathe deep. You weathered so much already. Don't fade away, shine on. If anything here has touched your heart, I'd love to hear your story. Please share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your voice deserves to be heard. We are listening and we care about you. Stay warm, stay proud, and until next time, take care. You are never truly alone. Shine on, dear friend.